I'm Don Phipps, Superintendent of the Caldwell County Schools, and I'm the host for this edition of Caldwell County Schools Profiles. Thank you for joining us. We have another exciting show for you today. I have two special guests, Dr. Kim Case, who's Coordinator of Innovation and Online Education, and Mr. Robert Semple, who is the Executive Director of our Student Support Services. And we'll be talking with both of them in separate interviews about some very pertinent topics. Dr. Case, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
I want to talk with you about our online education work, and I know that our public is aware of some of the offerings and the news that they've heard with Caldwell Connect, but they have no idea the conversations that we've had in the last 18 months, the journey that's been involved with us trying to have a presence with virtual education. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. Well, back in 2019 now, we started a journey with the Caldwell Innovative Virtual Academy. Had two courses that were piloted last spring that did very well with some homeschoolers involved and some of our public school students also. Of course, COVID kind of threw us off course just a bit, but those courses finished successfully. In the fall, while Caldwell Connect was happening as our remote learning option, we continued with our Caldwell Innovative Virtual Academy just for a small group of homeschoolers and had some very boutique select courses. Those courses have just finished and those were successful also, but we know that moving into the future there is a need for virtual learning and online education options. So we're looking at maybe some small offerings in spring. We've polled some homeschool folks to see what they're interested in. Still looking at those folks who need remote learning options through Caldwell Connect. And then we're looking forward to fall 2021 with a combined approach that we're calling Caldwell Online 2021 as we build those partnerships even stronger.
So if we go back pre-COVID, which seems like it's a decade ago, and we talked about the need for us to have a presence in the virtual education world. And there was outreach to the homeschool students. I know the North Carolina High School Athletic Association had a role in some of they were a catalyst, I think, to use a word like that in terms of what got a lot of the ball rolling. What was the point in terms of the enrollment and the athletics and how all that came together?
Well, we felt like that there are many things that public schools can offer that homeschoolers have difficulty accessing, and athletics and competitive sports is one of those areas. So we wanted to offer that option and partner with those homeschoolers, offer them things that they maybe weren't able to get. Since that time, we've learned that they're also interested in band, STEM classes. So those options that public school can bring to the table is what we want to offer and then up our game for everyone.
And two things I think happened. Number one, the High School Athletic Association said they would allow homeschoolers to participate in athletics, but there was a requirement that they rostered with us for half the day. So for high schools, that was 2 classes, 2 courses a semester. And for middle schools, we had to calculate what half of the day was, correct?
Absolutely, and so to enroll as a dual enrolled homeschool or private school student, you have to roster for 2 courses, which are 90-minute courses, and that calculates to half of our school day. So we look forward to that. Once you do that, you have access to the services of any other public school student. So it's a new and unique, innovative option.
Which you mentioned includes drama and theater, or I guess those are the same thing, but band and activities like that. And they don't have to give up their homeschool status. They're able to continue to be a homeschool student and take courses in the public schools, which is a neat and wonderful opportunity, I believe.
I do as well, and we're finding that from the homeschoolers who are taking advantage and have taken advantage in these first courses that they are appreciating the opportunity as well and are reaching out. They can also do the virtual course and a seated course in the classroom with a band or art as COVID will allow us to do that.
We look forward to seeing that partnership grow. I know right now as we sit in December of 2020 that we're talking about 3 different programs, and I know the public may hear that, students may have some interest, but we talk about CIVA, which is our virtual academy. We talk about Caldwell Connect, which we currently have going on where students are in a full-time virtual program. And then we talk about something new that'll be out in August of 2021. Can you tell our listeners and viewers about that a little bit?
Sure. That option will be a combination of the best lessons learned from Caldwell Connect and from the Virtual Academy. We'll expand our offerings so that all core subjects in grades 6 through 12 will be offered. So if you're on a graduation pathway, you can get those basic courses in 6, 8, you'll be able to get the core subjects, and then we're working on those other options. We have German 1 that's developed out there and has been very successful. We have some self and service courses that were developed, boutique courses, so those are some options that are there. And then currently I am taking input from a homeschool survey and would like to put that out even broader for what are you interested in? And if it's possible, what can we develop that you would be interested in taking as well that'll supplement those educational programs.
What about career and technical education?
Thank you for asking that. Our CTE program has embraced the virtual world and online education fully, and there are multiple CTE career and technical education courses. At the high school level, currently there is one at the middle school level, but we're hoping to broaden those horizons too.
I would have said a year or two ago that one of my goals would be that every one of our students would take an online course. Had no idea that they were going to be forced in that direction where we are now. But I think going through what we've gone through has created an opportunity and an experience, I think, for both teachers and students where they're a little bit more adept at working with the tools and they understand how to do that. So I'm so excited about where we're going to be in the future. And this provides just another resource and opportunity and avenue for instruction. Any parting comments or words that you'd like our viewers to know?
Oh, well, one of the, I guess, most notable comments that I received from a parent about online education, the need for it in the future is, I realized that being online was more collaborative, that it helped my daughter to be independent, but it also made her realize that she can't do it alone and that we need to ask for help as we navigate this new world that we're in. So I thought that was a life skill that we all are needing to take forward.
What are we doing from a school system perspective to ensure rigor and high quality in these courses?
We are working on rubrics to evaluate our courses. Those are in beginning phases. We're collaborating with several other districts that have virtual programs that they're struggling with the ins and outs and lessons learned just as we are. So we're working as a team. We're also going to do some professional development and some carefully selected staff to really build in that rigor and make sure our courses are what they need to be to meet the needs of our community.
Very good. Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We hope this has been insightful, and if you're a student or you have a child who'd be interested in anything that's a virtual offering, we ask you to reach out to us and explore on your own and see what we have to offer. We'll take a short break, and then we will be back with Mr. Robert Semple, and we'll be talking about character education. Please join us. And welcome back. We're in our second segment of this edition of Caldwell County Schools Profiles, and I have with me Mr. Robert Semple, who is the Executive Director of Student Support Services with the Caldwell County Schools. Robert, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Tell our viewers what Student Support Services consists of in our school system.
Oh, Student Support Services is an expansive department. It encompasses our school counselors, our school social workers, our school nurses, and beyond, and to some degree our exceptional children's program. But I would also say it's conceptually a part of everything we do every day.
I think if we're operating the way that we should, student services shouldn't be an isolated department, but should be intertwined in everything we do in general education.
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting, the position that I had in Cumberland County is the position that you have here, and we were both former school psychologists, so it's very interesting. I think we're like-minded in terms of some of our areas of focus.
I agree.
Talk with us today some about character education and the character education development, the program that we've put together, the steps that we've taken, which ultimately have yielded to some character traits that we are going to define as being the character traits in Caldwell County. But what would you want our viewers to know about that?
I think the first thing I would want our viewers to know is that you are the reason that character education is front and center in Caldwell County again. If we rewind all the way back to normal times before COVID, we had actually formulated a committee here to talk about our most intensive behavioral needs in Caldwell County, our students who are the most involved from a behavioral and emotional standpoint. And while we were working on that very intense issue, and you were a part of that team, you actually started interacting with the community and brought back input, which turned into the character traits that we're now going to talk about. I think the revelation for us was that we were struggling trying to address our most intensive needs because we really hadn't identified what our basic expectations are for all students. So it's hard to identify those really specific, tailored interventions when we don't have clear expectations for everybody.
But we had counselors that were doing character education in classrooms, and I know some schools had developed their own programs. Right?
Absolutely. I think someone referenced back in the 90s, we did do character ed, and it's existed in pockets. It's something that people can, teachers in particular, can grasp onto, especially when they do grasp onto it and use it. But I think we've reached a point now where we want to systematize it and really point out exemplar models, both in students and adults, of what we hope to produce in our graduates.
And our approach may have been unique, I don't know. We didn't want to go after a program that was off the shelf. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those off the shelf programs, but we felt like if it was homegrown, if the traits came from within Caldwell County, they embodied what our community feels like are important traits, then it would have that buy-in immediately. So the advisory groups that we have of ministers and parents and our board and PTA and teachers and a number of folks came together, and we just snowballed or spitball ideas of things, and that snowballed into what ultimately became the 10 traits that we're dealing with. Absolutely. So I want to share those and then have you provide any comment about it. The first one is determination, and it's associated with the month of August. The second is responsibility, September. Respectfulness, October. Generosity, November. Service, December. Optimism, January. Kindness, February. Cooperation, March. Honesty and integrity is April, and perseverance is in May. So I think it's interesting that we attached a character trait with a month. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, there is, but it might not be as sophisticated of a reason as one might expect. Again, when we started this school year, all disciplines in education had to evolve, and again, in student support services, that included counselors, social workers, nurses, and the like. And so what we had to do was take some of the very intimate work that counselors and those folks do in the schools and translate them into at least an attempt at remote delivery. And so when we had our first work days at the beginning of the year, I tasked all of our school counselors to take the character list, which you had helped to create from the community input, and align them with, again, I don't want to get into acronyms, but activities which are developmentally appropriate and aligned to a future direction that we're going to take in Caldwell County, to give students meaningful activities every month. And so what we have now is probably not what we'll be doing a year from now or 2 years from now. As we talk about, we don't know necessarily what 2 weeks from now may look like these days. But right now, every month, we have a character trait assigned and activities that are aligned with the character trait. And whether you're in Caldwell Connect and you're all remote, or you're in our hybrid model, or in our daily model for elementary, activities aligned to these character traits are being provided to teachers by our student support services staff. And they should be able to be completed in person or online. It's a first step, and I would imagine that it'll refine and become more involved as we move along.
And we don't want it to be icing on the cake. We want it to be one of the ingredients in the cake. Correct?
Absolutely. What I would say right now is our goal is that social emotional learning and character education isn't something that a teacher would assign to a time of day. It wouldn't be, okay, it's time to stop doing math today, now let's do character ed. It's something that we want to see integrated into everything we do, and ultimately be a reflection and an outcome product of our school system.
Across all grade levels.
Across all grade levels. And I've got to give a shout out to preschool. If you think about how preschool learners or preschool students learn, they're not going to talk about things in terms of determination or responsibility, or one that I could really point out would be kindness or cooperation. What they're doing is they're learning through the modeling of their teachers and the reinforcers that are given in the preschool class. I would say kindergarten might be very similar. As we get into first and second grade, it becomes more conceptual to where the words and the definitions of the words take on more meaning. Right now, it's the models and the examples that we put in front of our students, which includes our teachers on a daily basis.
And our public will see something in January at our board meeting that they've never seen before. And can you explain that?
Well, in January at our board meeting, we'll be displaying the character words, or I guess operationalizing them. And then the plan is at every board meeting moving forward, students would be represented at elementary, middle, and high school from across the district that we feel exemplify the character trait of that month. So even if kids can't define a character trait, we do know that first graders can display those character traits, and kindergartners can, whether they know it or not. So by putting these students front and center for their peers, and even to point it out for those students themselves that they already possess these traits that we're looking for, I think can only enhance our endeavor.
And I know you agree with me, the social and emotional needs of our students, the mental health needs of our students are as great as anything in the academic realm, and we have to work on those together. And what I'm excited about is our conversation has not been in a classroom. This teacher would say, we're going to put stuff away and we're going to do our social and emotional work, or we're going to do our character education work. It's intertwined in everything that's going on, and that's very exciting for me. So thank you for being here just to shed a little light on character education, and we look forward to it becoming front and center for a bit, and hopefully will be a big guiding force in the work that we're doing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Again, thank you all for joining us. We hope that this has been insightful, and we look forward to having you back next month for our next edition of Profiles.